Today we had a pretty interesting day in the markets. Most of it was bullish, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at everything that kind of happened. I want to take you through some asset classes and some interesting charts to show you. Let's get started. I am your host, The Cowboy. This is Elliot with Cafe and Chart of the Day. Let's go. All right, so let's jump over to my main page in here where we're taking a look at kind of what happened in the markets quickly. Overall, Dow was up about 60 basis points, SP 500 a little bit stronger, and actually NASDAQ composite in here was about a 1.5%. So a pretty decent rally in the markets as well. I mean, you look at the NASDAQ 100, 148, and actually the small caps were the ones that were kind of leading the charge today. We've had some earnings late in the afternoon here. We've had some snow and Nvidia, and both of them kind of got taken down. So we're curious to see how we're going to open tomorrow. But I think the markets here are basically trying to find their footing. I'm going to show you how underneath the hood here, underneath the surface, I continue to see improvements, and the likelihood of a rally, I think it's increasing here. Consumer discretionary on the sector summary was the one that was the strongest. It's been beaten down quite a lot, so we recovered today at about 2.8%, followed by energy and communication services. And the more defensive sectors, you look at utilities, healthcare, consumer staples, materials really stayed there or toward the bottom of the page. Some of the most percentage up stocks today was BBI here in SP 500. And then, you can see up here the list. I'm not familiar with some of these names, but, pretty strong advances. And then American Express, Boeing, and then you have Home Depot, Caterpillar, Disney here in the Dow Jones. And then stocks that kind of moved down, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Merck, and, Walmart. A little bit weaker. And let me see in the S&P 500, Agilent and what is this, Waters Corporation. So not a big down day across, just kind of interesting overall, and with a pretty bullish tone. So I'm going to jump over and take a look quickly here at the major markets because we're going to have some charts right next to it on here. And you can see this is Dow Industrial. It's coming back here, trying to climb back above its I think this is the 20-day moving average, if I'm not mistaken, and it is still fighting to get above it, right? It's trying to rally. At least we haven't made new lows, but there's still a lot of overhead resistance here. You can look at NASDAQ Composite, which is a little bit lower, but we have stopped going down for a little while in here, and it's interesting to see if we're able to regain that and start to gain some footing. There could be some relief rallies here coming. It is the S&P 500. This one looks a little bit better. I mean, you've had this big sell-off, and now, you're starting to make this higher lows here, but we got to retake some of these moving averages. Looking at the major indexes, again, just Dow Jones Industrial, Transports, NASDAQ 100, and, look at the small caps, because the ones that rallied today, they've tried to get back above that average, and they're still struggling a little bit, but if we're able to climb, the next targets will be the 50 higher up in there. So, just again, a mixed market. They're trying to recover a little bit. And I would take that as a positive sign for right now. In terms of the sectors, I just kind of mentioned what the strongest was today was consumer discretionary, so 282, still very far away from the moving averages in a pretty strong downtrend. This one broke back below the 200. And now we're coming back and we're hitting our head above it. So interesting to see if they're going to be able to get back above it, because otherwise I think this sector also will start to get hurt a little bit. Energy is the best performer, continues to make new highs in here. I think the sector is getting tired. It's a little bit, I think crowded, but crowded can get even more crowded until it breaks. So we'll see, but no reason to fight it just now. Financials trying to close back above that moving average, so getting a little bit of momentum. Healthcare, it's still a pretty strong one in here, but overall mixed. Not much interest in their industrials, materials, technology coming back. And I mean, look at the NASDAQ and XLK, looks pretty much the same picture. So strong downtrend. We need to see them regaining some momentum higher. And then you have utilities in here, real estate and XLC, which is trying to come back as well. Real estate is, it's nice pullback. Okay, on the indices in here, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. I mean, I'm looking at airlines. They were doing pretty well today. And then let's see what else. We can kind of go through this list. Insurance, retailers, I think, had a pretty good day today. I mean, they kind of crashed these things. I mean, you know what happened to Walmart, what happened to Target. So a little bit of a relief rally, about 6.8% on the day. But, they still got a lot of wood to chop to the upside. So a lot of overhead supply. It's probably going to be an issue moving forward for a little while in there. So international here, I think China had a pretty good day. And I'm not going to spend time with this. Taking a look quickly at the bonds. Bonds kind of sold off. And you could see, the bonds got bought. I'm sorry, this is the interest rates that kind of got sold off. So it's the inverse relationship. And we're coming back into the 50-day moving average. On the 2-year, I think we crossed below that. No, we just stopped right there. So anyway, yields are coming off. Maybe they're signaling here to the Fed that they're moving too aggressive. And, these markets are trying to anticipate some problems down the road. It could be just a relaxation and we could be moving higher, but I would definitely pay attention if we're starting to break below the 50-day moving average on the yields. That's a sign that the market might pause a little bit here and maybe try to recover a little bit. Because especially on the tech sector there, lower yields are welcome. Here is the 30-year, right? They're just starting to break below there, but there's still a little bit of a while to go until the 50. But keep an eye on bonds because it's kind of the first time that we're seeing, people starting to buy them and getting involved in bonds. They've been, underperforming for a good 6-7 months, if not a year. Okay, gold in here, that was pretty much flat. I had a short in corn, which I just took out of here, breaking below the 50-day moving average. I'm pretty bearish in commodities here. I think they've been overextended. So far, just a 3-wave move off the highs. But I'm trying to see what's going on with this shorter term momentum breaking below these moving averages. I'm going to continue to kind of try to pound that as well. Here's the corn ETF, so you can use the ETF if you don't use futures. I'm still short on natural gas. I'm taking a little bit of hit here to the upside, but I think this market, it's climbing on a much lower volume. The RSI is diverging. It's a huge one between what the price does and what the RSI does. So I think this thing gets about to crash lower. It's a ball call, I know, but this thing, it's starting to kind of flash warning signs for me. So I'm shorted, and I'm gonna try to pound it to the downside. Hopefully that works out. If not, you'll hear from me that I took a big loss there. Commodities are fine. Coffee, agriculture, ETF, DBA. So this one, see, it's kind of slows down. It starts to lose momentum to the upside, comes back. This is all the hype with the agriculture, wheat and corn and all the food shortages. But I think this is coming to an end. And cryptocurrencies, did pretty okay today. So kind of flat, not a huge rally. I mean, Tronics is the one that's, pretty much acted the strongest ever since we've had this major sell-off, and it's followed by Monero, which is another one that's been doing pretty well. It's coming back to its 200-day moving average. So watch it close above this thing, maybe a little bit of a pullback, but Monero might have a lot of legs to the upside. I'm watching this 280. If this gets taken out, that's going to be an interesting a key level, for a much larger continuation higher, I think, if this gets taken out. So until then, we're fighting a bit of a downtrend, but it's one that's recovered the most. And then, Binance Coin is also acting strong in here. You can see after this big sell-off continues to build a climb. And then Bitcoin, you know, it's struggling here to kind of overtake 30 level. Not a lot of reaction, even after a pretty bullish day in the markets. It's still kind of hovering near the lows. So it's taking its sweet little time. I think this was a pretty big sell-off. I don't know if we're going to get that fifth wave. I have it with the members in the pro room as another decline coming, but I'm starting to lose, you know, confidence in that necessarily because of kind of what I see happening here. But it's definitely, you know, a big corrective move. So I'm not going to go through all of them. I covered them into the program. Okay, currencies here. The dollar, it's been coming down. I was short the dollar here. You know, took profits. I'm waiting for it to kind of get back and try to continue to short the dollar. I think this is UUP. So let me show you the dollar index. Actually, the 105 was so that's the UUP ETF if you want to trade that. But the dollar index 105 was the high. Came back. Overtake this shorter term moving average, and then it's coming to attack the 50. We're going to find support here, probably go back, but that's an impulsive move, and I would look for it to short it as it's making corrections higher. World markets, nothing there, and then on breadth, I'm going to show you a couple of things here. So just another quick view on kind of what's going on. What's the strongest? What I've done is I've you know, covered all these, you know, larger, let's say, macro assets, and this kind of core markets from oil all the way to, you know, rates, and Bitcoin even is in here. So you can see this is oil in terms of the RSI strength. It's still one of the strongest markets out there, sitting at about 110, and it's still, you know, fairly positive. I don't have a high confidence that it's going to continue higher. I think oil will probably come lower. You know, then I'm looking at the emerging markets here. Actually, the developed markets without United States and Canada, IFA, you know, climbing back here above the 50-day moving average. So a little bit of momentum with the weakness in the dollar right there. It's the weakness in the dollar. So these guys are trying to kind of get back at it. TLT, so these are the bonds. VIX, it's losing momentum. You can see from 35 to 30. So based on how much weakness we've had in the stock market, I would have expected VIX to continue to push higher. This hasn't happened, and it's creating, I think, a divergence in here. Like, it's losing momentum. The fear gets subside, and it should help these markets recover further. So that's on the VIX. That's kind of how I'm reading that. I talked about the 10-year yields. That's the dollar. IWM, the Russell. You know, they had a pretty good day today, you know, up about 1.8%, but we need to see a little bit more. If the markets recover, these guys, I think, are going to be the first ones to start to move higher. So keep an eye on that. Gold is pretty much flat. It looks like a three-wave setback, but it's fairly flat, and I don't have a lot of interest in it. And then I talked about Bitcoin, NASDAQ, and comp. I mean, NASDAQ composite, I mean, look at the RSI, it's still very depressed, near 30, while in the oil market it's above 50, and some of these other ones. So, you know, a market is trying to come back, and you know, you can see, I mean, the strength continues to be in energy and you know, healthcare and some of these defensive sectors, but we're looking for signs of rotation right now. Quick look at the crypto basket. So again, you know, one of the strongest here, it's Tronics. Again, these are in the RSI order, followed by XMR. XTZ is the one that I really like. It's starting to kind of come back nicely. You can notice Bitcoin is still sitting still after the sell-off, and some of these guys have already started to push higher. I'm expecting Bitcoin to do the same, and instead of pushing lower in that fifth wave, to push higher. We'll see if that happens. Ethereum Classic, BNB, Aave, Uni, and then we're starting to kind of go down from there. But at least, you know, let's say if you look at these top 8 ones in here, they're looking like they have a little bit of strength if you're interested in kind of, you know, what to scan moving forward. All right, here is a little bit of a breadth in the NDX. So what you're looking for here is the McClellan oscillator in here. This is basically a sum of it's the difference between how many issues are advancing and declining. And it's a pretty strong breadth indicator here. You could see how, you know, we're starting to push higher out of here. We're getting the first signs of bullish momentum into the black lines. You know, it's been a while. I mean, this has been since April 12th. when we're starting to kind of drop, and then we continue to drop, but the breadth is starting to improve in here and we're getting positive. So, and this is the summation index that takes a look at the, a little bit of a longer time frames and kind of combines everything in it. And this one shows a huge divergence as well. So it doesn't mean that it's going to bounce right away, but it's definitely something that shows you that the market is improving underneath here. And, it's, I've been talking about this for a while. Even if you're making new lows, it's hard to get ultra bearish here. I was telling my members this morning that I'm expecting a rally of about at least 15 to 20% in the Nasdaq and the SP 500 that can take this back towards, let's say, 14,000, 14,100, 150, all the way back there. So that's going to be, pretty good rally if it happens. And this is Nasdaq Composite. So, no, this is NDX here. So it's the Nasdaq 100. Yep. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one that I have. I have another one that I wanted to show you. So this is the advanced decline line. This is on a smaller time frame. It's improving in here, so I'm not going to bore you with this. This is just on a 2-hour. But the new highs versus new lows is the one that that I've been talking about in the latest video in the last video that I've done for NDX. And you could see how they're starting to squeeze much higher. I'm going to go to a smaller time frame. So let's go to a let's say to a 5-year. And you'll see kind of how this looks. So, look at this big sell-off, right? Back here, minus 1285, then minus 164, and it's climbing higher and higher in here. So again, the percentage of stocks, the number of stocks that are making new 52-week lows, are getting smaller and smaller in here. Okay, so this is I think a pretty good indicator that the markets are kind of tired of the sell-off, and it's just kind of the less level of sell-offs that we're still getting, but at a much lower rate. So I expect this one to continue to climb and eventually turn positive in here, which should lead to a much larger rally. And here is the difference between the new highs and the new lows back at the bottom there. Also a little bit of an improvement if you look at the percentage of them that go above 50-day moving average. That's also climbing higher. So, they came from pretty depressed levels of, only 8% above 50-day moving average. Right now we're at about 14%, with the market still coming lower, but with the breadth improving. So that's something that I want you to see. Then it's the same story in the SP 500. On the McClellan oscillator here, you could see how this is positive now, pushing nicely higher. Here is its description. And I'll look for it to continue to see signs from price, because price is starting to kind of make higher lows in here. We haven't been dropping aggressively, so for at least for the past few days in here, it's been looking much better. I don't think we've gotten the sentiment just yet. I think it's going to get updated later today into tomorrow. So I'm going to take a look at that and see where this market is, what the market is doing on the sentiment. And let me take a look at the price one more time in here. So you can see we're getting a climb back on the MACD line on the daily time frame. This is a positive sign. We're starting to get those little signs of green shoots in there. The market have stopped falling, and it's with the divergences that I've showed you, this could be maybe a completed move. And I'm going to close off with the count. We're looking at this as an ABC, maybe as a W, followed by what I'm saying of a possible 15 to 20% rally coming in here, maybe back towards 4,400, back towards the top of this line, either in an ABC or a bigger impulse. We'll see, maybe a double zigzag. I'm not sure how this is going to unfold. Nobody knows, but it is something that I'm expecting now, more than I would expect a larger decline lower. So you could look at this possible as a WXY, although this Y wave would be quite choppy. So, I'm still, a little bit, working with the internals of this move to see how they make sense. But for right now, this is my best look. Watch this trend line, and it's probably going to get taken out, and then you're probably going to have this one that we're going to have to watch as well. That's coming from those highs. Maybe that's going to be the first leg of the impulse. You have a big horizontal resistance right there. So that's going to be a level that's probably going to be a little bit tough to crack, but let's first get there and then we'll worry about it once that happens. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Visit me in the pro room. Take advantage of that trial that I have. Actually, the promotion, I'm sorry, where you're going to get 2 months for the price of 1 in both the pro channel, where I talk about all these markets in detail every day, and with charts and updates, and also on the Bitcoin, where we only focus on Bitcoin charts and Bitcoin analysis. So thanks for watching, and I'll be talking to you later. Bye-bye.